It was a chilly autumn afternoon when I first felt the weight of my memories pressing down on me like the heavy clouds above. The scent of damp earth and fallen leaves filled the air, a reminder of the seasons passing, the years gone by, and the lingering ache of my estranged son. I remember sitting on my porch, wrapped in a thick blanket, the wooden boards creaking beneath my weight. It was a familiar spot, one I had claimed for my afternoon reflections. But on that day, it felt more like a prison, a cell of regrets and unspoken words. You see, my son Jack and I had drifted apart. It was a gradual unravelling, a slow burn of misunderstandings and hurt feelings that eventually left us in a chasm of silence. I can still hear the echoes of our last argument, the sharpness of his voice cutting through the air like a winter wind. "You don't understand me," he had yelled, his eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and pain. And perhaps he was right. Maybe I didn't understand him at all. Life had been a whirlwind, full of the mundane and the extraordinary. I had poured my heart into raising him, filled our home with laughter and warmth, yet somehow, as he grew older, it felt like the distance between us expanded with each passing moment. The smell of his favourite dinner wafting through the kitchen seemed to only serve as a reminder of the joyful times we once shared. I would set the table for two, only to find myself eating alone, the chair across from me vacant, a testament to our fractured bond. Years passed, and with them came an array of emotions that spiralled within me: sorrow, anger, loneliness. I would often catch snippets of conversations between friends, tales of reconciliations and family gatherings, and each time a twinge of jealousy would stab at my heart. I longed for those moments, yet I felt so lost, so trapped in my own stubbornness. It was easier to hold on to the pain than to acknowledge the love that was still buried beneath the rubble of our fallout. Then one day, a letter arrived. The envelope was creased and worn, the handwriting unmistakable. My heart raced as I opened it, the familiar scent of his cologne wafting through, bringing back a flood of memories. "I'm sorry," it read simply, but those two words held the weight of 1,000 emotions. I could feel the sincerity behind them, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. But it was also a moment of reckoning for me. I had spent years nursing my wounds, but what had it accomplished? I realised that holding on to the past was like clutching a hot coal. It only burned me from the inside. The decision to forgive was not just for him, it was for me. A chance to release the burden I had carried for so long. With a deep breath, I set out to confront my ghosts. I envisioned Jack standing before me, not in anger, but as the boy I once adored. As I walked through our old neighbourhood, the familiar sounds of children playing and dogs barking brought back memories that both warmed and stung. I could almost hear his laughter echoing through the streets. Each step felt heavy, yet liberating, as if I was shedding layers of resentment with every footfall. When I finally saw him again, it was as if time had folded in on itself. He was taller, perhaps a little more worn, but the essence of the boy I loved was still there, hidden behind the adult facade. We stood there, two souls navigating the complexities of forgiveness. I felt an overwhelming urge to wrap my arms around him, to erase the years of silence, but instead we exchanged cautious words. "I've missed you," I confessed, my voice trembling. The ensuing conversation was a delicate dance, a blend of laughter and tears, as we both found ourselves unearthing the dreams we had buried under our pain. It wasn't easy. There were moments of awkwardness, moments of vulnerability that forced us to confront the raw truths of our relationship. We shared stories of our lives apart, the joys, the struggles, and the lessons learned. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over our surroundings, I felt a warmth blossom within me. It was in that moment I realized that forgiveness is not about forgetting the past. It's about embracing it, learning from it, and allowing it to shape who we become. I saw the boy I once knew in Jack's eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt hope. In the days that followed, we began to rebuild our relationship, one small step at a time. There were still hurdles to overcome, but the foundation of understanding we laid felt solid enough to hold us through the storms. I learned to listen, truly listen, to his words, and in turn, he began to understand the weight of my fears and regrets. Now, as I sit here on my porch, the air fragrant with blooming flowers, I am filled with a sense of peace. The journey of forgiveness has transformed me, reminding me that love can withstand even the deepest wounds. I no longer carry the burden of resentment. Instead, I cherish the moments we share, knowing that each one is a testament to our resilience. I invite you to reflect on your own stories of forgiveness. Have you ever faced a rift in your family? What did it take for you to mend those ties? Let's explore these themes together. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As I settled back into this newfound rhythm with Jack, I realized that forgiveness was just the beginning. It was like peeling back the layers of an onion. Each layer revealed something new, sometimes making me cry, but ultimately leading to deeper understanding. I remember one evening, after dinner, we found ourselves on the couch, reminiscing about old times. The air was filled with laughter as we shared stories that had become legends in our family lore. "Do you remember that time you tried to build a tree house?" he asked, a grin spreading across his face. I chuckled, recalling how we'd ended up with a pile of mismatched wood and a rather questionable structure that barely stood. "You insisted on using that bright orange paint," he added, shaking his head. "I think the neighbours were more concerned about our aesthetics than the safety of the treehouse." It struck me how these moments of levity were like healing salves, stitching up the wounds that had festered for so long. We had danced around our past for years, but now vulnerability had become our ally. I began to see how important it was to embrace those lighter moments, to let laughter fill the spaces that once echoed with silence. It was during these interactions that I realized the more we laughed together, the more the walls between us crumbled. Yet, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There were still tough conversations that needed to happen. I remember one particular afternoon when I finally mustered the courage to ask Jack about his experiences during our years apart. "What was it like for you?" I inquired softly, bracing myself for whatever truth he might unveil. The room grew heavy with anticipation. His eyes flickered with a mix of emotions, sadness, anger, and a hint of relief. "It felt like I was living in a fog," he confessed. "I missed you, but I also felt so misunderstood. It was like screaming into a void." Those words hit me harder than I expected. I realized that while I had been wrestling with my own pain, I had overlooked his. It was a wake-up call, a moment that reminded me that forgiveness is not a one-way street. It requires both parties to be open and honest about their feelings. As we delved deeper into those conversations, I noticed something remarkable happening. With each shared truth, we were weaving a new narrative for our relationship, one built on empathy and shared understanding. I started to see Jack not just as my son, but as an individual shaped by his own set of experiences and challenges. It was a shift in perspective that breathed new life into our bond. And speaking of challenges, let me tell you about the time we took a spontaneous road trip together. It was one of those ideas that sounded better on paper than in reality. We packed up the car, armed with snacks and playlists filled with our favourite tunes. The excitement was palpable, but so was the tension that lingered beneath the surface. I remember glancing at him as we drove, the silence occasionally punctuated by the sound of the wind rushing past the windows. Eventually, we found ourselves lost in the middle of nowhere. Classic, right? Instead of panicking, we burst into laughter, both of us realizing how ridiculous the situation was. "At least we have snacks," I joked, and suddenly, that shared humor became a bridge, connecting us in ways that words sometimes failed to do. It was in these moments of vulnerability and spontaneity that I understood. Forgiveness isn't just about the past. It's about creating new memories together, shaping our future. After that trip, we made it a point to have regular catch-up sessions. Just the two of us, no distractions. These became our sacred spaces, where we could lay bare our thoughts and feelings, often leading to unexpected revelations. I remember one evening, Jack looked at me earnestly and said, "I think I finally understand why we had such a hard time." We both wanted to be heard, but we spoke different languages. It was profound, and I realized that communication was the key to unlocking our healing. As we continued to share, I could feel the bonds tightening, the love that had always been there slowly unfurling. It became clear that this journey was not solely for the sake of forgiveness. It was an exploration of what it means to truly connect with someone you love. We started to embrace the uncomfortable conversations, the ones that scared us, but ultimately brought us closer together. Now, as I reflect on these moments, I feel grateful for this second chance. It's a reminder that forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It enriches the present and guides the future. I invite you to think about your own experiences with forgiveness. Have you found common ground with someone you once felt distant from? What lessons have you learned along the way? Let's explore these themes together. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the complexities of family dynamics and the transformative power of forgiveness. If you're curious about healing broken bonds, share your experiences below and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. As we settled into this new rhythm, I began to realize that forgiveness was like being handed a key to a door I didn't even know existed. It opened up a room filled with memories, some sweet and others tinged with regret, but all vital to understanding the tapestry of our relationship. One evening, while we were flicking through old family albums, Jack stumbled upon a picture of us at the beach, when he was just a little boy. The sheer joy on his face, the sandcastle we built together, and the way the sunlight danced on the ocean surface made me pause. "Do you remember that day?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I smiled, recalling how we spent hours playing in the waves, the world around us fading away. "We were unstoppable," I said, and for a moment we were transported back to that carefree day. That image, frozen in time, served as a reminder of the bond we had, even if it had been overshadowed by years of hurt. This nostalgia sparked a realization. While the past had its share of pain, it also held moments that could be cherished. I found myself wanting to create new memories, ones that would layer over the old, building a stronger foundation. The idea of setting new traditions took root. "How about we do a family game night?" I suggested, my heart racing a bit. The thought of inviting him into something so light-hearted felt like a leap of faith. To my surprise, Jack's face lit up. "That sounds fun, just like old times," he exclaimed. And so began our monthly game nights, complete with competitive spirit, laughter, and a few friendly arguments over board game rules. I remember one night, as we battled it out in a game of Monopoly, Jack turned to me and said, "I always wanted to play games with you again. It feels good to be here." Those words echoed in my heart, reinforcing how powerful it can be to create new experiences together. And speaking of experiences, let's not forget our attempts at cooking. Oh boy, did we have some memorable disasters. One evening, armed with a recipe that promised the best spaghetti carbonara ever, we ended up with a hilariously chaotic kitchen flour on our faces, sauce splattered on the walls, and laughter filling the air. It was a beautiful mess. At one point, Jack looked at me, his eyes sparkling with mischief, and said, "I think this is more of a comedy show than a cooking session." Those moments of chaos were crucial. They taught us that, even amidst the mess, joy could be found. We began to embrace the imperfections in our relationship and in ourselves. I started to understand that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means finding ways to move forward together, no matter how messy life can get. As we continued to connect over these shared activities, I noticed something profound emerging. Vulnerability had become our secret ingredient. It was during one of our game nights when Jack opened up about his struggles with self-esteem. "I always felt like I wasn't good enough," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "I guess I thought if I could prove myself, it would fix things." Hearing this, I felt a wave of empathy wash over me. It made me realize that while I had been focused on my own pain, he had been battling his own demons. This exchange was a pivotal moment for both of us. It highlighted how important it is to create a safe space for such conversations. I shared my own struggles, the times I felt inadequate, and how they had affected our relationship. Our bond deepened in that moment. And it became clear that forgiveness was not just a release of past grievances. It was a commitment to understanding and supporting each other in our vulnerabilities. It required us to be brave and extend grace not only to each other, but to ourselves. As we navigated this path of healing, I found myself reflecting on the lessons we were learning. One evening, as we sat on the porch sipping lemonade, I turned to Jack and said, "You know, I think our relationship is like a garden. It needs care and attention, and sometimes we have to pull out the weeds to let the flowers flourish." He nodded, absorbing the metaphor. The idea of nurturing our relationship resonated with him, and from that day on, we made it a point to water our bond regularly. We explored new activities together, whether it was hiking, attending concerts, or simply trying out new restaurants. Each experience added a new layer to our connection, allowing us to cultivate a relationship filled with love and understanding. And here's the thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What topics around forgiveness or family dynamics should we explore next? Perhaps you have your own stories of healing or moments that changed your family relationships. Sharing these experiences can be so powerful, and who knows? Your story might just resonate with someone else going through a similar journey. If you're curious about healing broken bonds, share your thoughts below and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. Let's keep this conversation going, because every story matters, and together we can create a community of understanding and support. As we sat there on the porch, sipping our lemonade and watching the sun dip below the horizon, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we had come. The laughter, the shared meals, and even the chaotic kitchen moments had woven a new fabric of connection between us. It was hard to believe that just a few months prior, we were two people navigating the silence of our estrangement, and now we were finding joy in the simplest of things. Jack turned to me, a thoughtful look on his face. "You know, I've been thinking about how much we've changed. It's almost like we're starting fresh," he said, his voice tinged with a mix of hope and uncertainty. I nodded, feeling that familiar warmth in my heart. "Absolutely. It's like we've been given a second chance to write our story," I replied, realizing how powerful that metaphor had become for both of us. In that moment, I was reminded of the importance of open communication. It was like a light bulb went off. Trust needed to be nurtured just as much as love. What if we set aside some time each week to just talk? I suggested, my excitement bubbling over. "No distractions, just us. We can share anything that's on our minds." Jack looked intrigued, the corners of his mouth turning up as he considered the idea. "I'd like that," he said, and just like that, we had a new tradition in the making. Those weekly heart-to-heart sessions became sacred for us. We'd sit in the living room, sometimes with snacks, sometimes just tea, and dive deep into our lives. One evening, I opened up about my own regrets, times I felt I had failed him as a parent. I thought I had to be perfect, I confessed, and in trying to be, I pushed you away. Jack listened intently, and slowly, I could see the walls he had built around himself begin to crumble. I get that now. I always thought you were angry with me, he admitted, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. It was moments like these that truly highlighted the essence of forgiveness. It wasn't just about letting go of past grievances. It was about forging new connections through honesty and understanding. We realized that by sharing our fears and insecurities, we were not just healing our relationship, but also helping each other grow individually. It was a powerful revelation, and I couldn't help but wonder how many families could benefit from similar conversations. Then came the day when we decided to take a spontaneous trip together. We packed up the car and headed to the mountains, eager for a little adventure. The drive was filled with music and laughter, each song sparking memories and stories. When we reached our destination, we were greeted by breathtaking views and fresh air. "This is amazing," Jack exclaimed as we hiked up a trail, and I couldn't help but agree. It felt like we were rediscovering not only the world around us, but also each other. As we reached a viewpoint overlooking a stunning valley, I turned to him. "Look at how far we've come," I said, gesturing to the landscape. "This is what forgiveness can do. It allows us to see the beauty in our journey." Jack nodded, taking a deep breath. "I think I finally understand," he responded, a sense of clarity in his eyes. It was moments like this that made me realize the importance of creating shared experiences. They helped solidify the lessons we were learning. And while we were basking in the beauty of the moment, I couldn't help but think about all the stories I had heard about families healing after years of pain. It made me curious about those who had similar experiences. "Have you ever thought about how many other families might be going through something like this?" I asked Jack. "Yeah, it's crazy to think about," he replied. "I bet there are so many people out there who feel lost with their parents or kids." That sparked an idea. What if we created a platform to share these stories? A space for people to connect, share their journeys of forgiveness, and find support. Imagine if we could help others who are struggling like we did, I suggested. Excitement bubbling within me, Jack's eyes lit up. I'd love to be part of that. The notion of turning our experiences into a source of hope for others felt like a natural extension of what we had been building together. As we continued our hike, we brainstormed ways to engage with others. What if we started a blog or a YouTube channel? I could already envision us sharing our adventures, the ups and downs of our relationship, and the lessons we learned along the way. We could make it fun, casual, and relatable. I enthused. Jack smiled, clearly on board, and I could see his excitement mirror my own. This idea felt like the next step in our healing journey. A way to not only document our progress, but also give back to a community that could benefit from our story. It was an empowering realization that our struggles could serve a purpose beyond ourselves. And as we made our way back down the trail, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were just getting started. I would love to hear your thoughts. What topics around forgiveness or family dynamics should we explore next? Maybe you have your own stories of healing or moments that changed your family relationships. Sharing these experiences can be so powerful, and who knows? Your story might just resonate with someone else going through a similar journey. As we wrapped up our journey of reconnection, it struck me just how transformative forgiveness can be. From the awkward silence of estrangement to the laughter-filled moments on our spontaneous trips, every step we took together was a testament to the healing power of honesty and shared experiences. Our weekly heart-to-heart sessions became the foundation for rebuilding trust, allowing us to peel back the layers of misunderstanding and embrace vulnerability. It's incredible to think that by simply opening up, we not only mended our relationship, but uncovered a wealth of wisdom and growth within ourselves. Now we're excited to take our story further, creating a platform where others can share their journeys of forgiveness too. Just imagine the connection and support we could foster. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What topics around forgiveness or family dynamics should we explore next? If you're curious about healing broken bonds, share your thoughts below and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. And remember, your story might just spark hope for someone else, navigating their own path to reconciliation. So let's embark on this adventure together. There's so much more to discover,